Hi YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode here on ESGNet. We're back here for NCAA Football 14, and this is the Highland Scotties Team Builder Dynasty, episode 71. This is the second part of the off season, as we seen towards the end there. We've seen where our guys were drafted, or at least where they were drafted wise when it comes to which round and what pick. But today we're going to finish off this off season, as we're going to take a look at some of the newer players coming up, not to mention look at the new Big 12, who's a part of it. You should know by now who's a part of it, because we're one of the new teams. As you take a look here at some of the players that we got to try to recruit here, and of course some of those have been locked out for quite some time now. And also too, we're going to try to get some more players here to kind of fill up the roster here, as we're pretty short here. I think we have about 65 players or so, so we're about 5 or 6 players short of the 70 that we need. So we're going to try to get some last minute pushes here. You see Marion Davis there, wide receiver, 76 overall, has committed to our team. All these other players you see here, with the exception of Marion Davis, Shannon Jenkins, rest of these players, Alvin Smith is another one. Rest of those players are players that you guys submitted, or players that myself, my good friend Steve, and Taylor have helped me with creating here. I will also tell you in this episode too, we'll actually towards the end there, we'll talk about player recruitment and how you guys can get a part. Now we've already got enough recruits for this upcoming season, and remember, you guys can submit players, and we changed the submissions how we're doing it this year a little different. The rule is 75 overall, unless you want a player that is a transfer coming from a JUCO school or whatever, and then we try to put about somewhere around 80 overall, and he has to come in as either as a junior or senior from from a school. Yeah, this year we've had so many submissions the last ever since we started this series, that I've had to kind of put, kind of limit it to so many players. Now this year, right now I'm currently working on the last 10 or 15 that we have left onto our new board for this upcoming season that we're getting ready for. But for next season, there's going to be a way where you guys can submit your players, and I'll explain more about that towards the end of this video. But speaking of submission or prospects here, we're going to take a look at some of those right now. James McDonald there, 56 overall, did not sign with us. I don't understand why he did not sign with us. Tommy Foster, another player recruit that you guys submitted. He's going to Nebraska, so that's another player that we're losing to Nebraska to. Ishmael Daly, player that I was really hoping to get, because he was one of the players that I actually created, and that's not going to happen. He's going to the Razorbacks there in Arkansas. Alex Blanchard's going to be there with him. He's a defensive end. He's going to go to the Razorbacks. So that's definitely a team that I'm actually kind of thinking about putting on the schedule here somewhere, 2 years from now. I do have a schedule of where I want to play at here with some of the players that we were not able to recruit because we lost, based of you guys your player decided want to go somewhere else. So there is a schedule here in the next year, for next season, that we're going to try to see if we can play against you guys and see how you guys fare, because a lot of you guys probably won't be starting to your sophomore, maybe your junior year. And I am looking at the rosters of those teams that you guys are on to see if you're playing or not. And if you are playing, then that's when we're going to put you on the schedule. So I do have a list of teams that we're going to be playing, and these are a lot of the teams that right now that I have for at least for the next 2 years or so, or 3 years from now, that we could be playing against, like Indiana, Auburn, Miami. Of course, Nebraska we've already played against, because we have one of the Graham brothers playing there that was submitted. I think Steve or Taylor actually created. And those two guys got split up. There's the rest of the Highland Scotties teams that players that have signed with us, and of course Axel Flanagan, the little brother of Alex Flanagan, of course joining our team. And there you see our recruiting class. There you see we got 18 total prospects coming in, 5 4-stars, 3 5-stars, 5 4-stars there, if I can spit that out correctly. Auburn had the most, I think, or had 12. They had the best class overall, but they had 12 4-stars. And there you see we had 6 3-stars and 4 1-star players. Take a look there. You see Auburn had the most 4-star players with 12. Clemson had the most 3-star athletes there, 17. Idaho had the most 2-star with 14, and then Akron had the most 1-star players, 11. And take the overall look here. Wisconsin, Idaho, and South Carolina all had 24 players and a total of their classes there. Temple, Nebraska, Clemson with 23, and then of course going down the line there, you see some of the other schools there. As for the worst, having the least amount was UTEP. South Alabama, with 13. They were ranked based on ranking there out of 123 schools there. So we'll also take a look here. I've meant to have been showing this in the last couple seasons now, and I realized I need to start doing this, but showing you guys what our grades are for our school. And so far, looking pretty good there. Coaching prestige is great, A+. Conference prestige now, since we're in a conference. Right now, not technically just yet, but we're an independent school. So far, we've been doing really well as an independent school. And then you see conference contenders, our championship contenders. We're within the top 10 here in the last couple of years now. Stadium atmosphere is great. Pro potential is getting better. Television exposure is even better now, especially as we're going to the Big 12. And then you see program prestige, athletic facilities there, and then of course some areas that we just need to continue improving in. Coaching stability, which has been great, because so far we have not lost Coach Teddy Bonds, but we have lost a lot of coordinators, and that can happen. That happens quite often when guys are doing so well, they end up getting jobs from other places, like Calvin McGee, who is the new Hawaii's coach, and of course we are going to be playing against him and the Hawaii Warriors there this season. And that'll be a road game coming up. And we'll show you guys the schedule here, also too, here towards the end of the video. But then you see academic prestige getting better, and of course campus lifestyle. We're a small town. We're a small town school, a small Kansas school in the middle of nowhere, and there's not much I can say personally. Because this is based on the actual school that I actually went to. Campus life, it's very interesting. You have to come up with your own fun things to do there. So, I don't see that improving too much here, but at some point here, things, we start winning championships and might get a little crazy, here and there. It might start going up there, but there you see other top schools there. Campus life was excellent. Of course, Texas, Hawaii. Especially Hawaii. Goodness sakes, it's nice there. And Arizona State. Pipelines. Just take a look there. You got to have at least 4 players from each state to consider a pipeline. Of course, we got Kansas, Missouri, which we recently got, and Florida. But next season, we could be losing Nebraska and Texas, and I believe even California is on that list there. As we got to start doing well there. And Coach Teddy Bonds does a great job of finding players in those areas. But we got to do a better job of recruiting for next season, or we're going to lose those pipelines. So that's something we're going to work on. Of course, we're trying to get kids from most importantly within the Big 12 area. Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, the Midwestern states. So we're trying to do our best to focus on that, but at the same time too, we've got to hit those big areas: Florida, Texas, California. places like that have some star athletes. So as we move on here, we actually got the position changes here. Now, if you guys remember, there were some players that I actually created for the simple fact because I wanted to focus on a certain area of the game. And then also too, there were some people that wanted, friends that wanted a player. They wanted a player so bad, and the only reason why they got to be on the team here because of a little trick that I used to do in past games and actually still works in this one, where you can create a prospect, create him as a kicker, put his stats, like you want, and that kind of helps out to be an athlete, and then you can, put him onto the team. Well, and I did that for 2 friends, for 2 different characters. You see, we got a couple of them here. So we got a couple of athletes. Wall is one of them. He's now a free safety. Adrian Thomas, a quarterback. He was one of the players that we actually recruited. That was computer generated. Then Aaron Robinson was another computer generated one. He's a wide receiver. And then Diego Rizzo, Rocco Bennett, and Dallas Russo, and Jackson Banks are all players that my buddies were wanting to be on the team. And those guys are basically defensive ends and defensive tackles, with the exception of Bennett, who is a fullback. And he'll be the new starting fullback for our squad here. Now, all those players are 75 or lower. That's the only way I told them they could get on the team. Now, if you guys want a player that's a superstar that you want him on the team, no matter what, well, the best way to do it is to join our Patreon page. Go to our Patreon, and there's a link down below. Check us out there. And there's 3 different tiers. Each tier tells you what you'll get in each tier, especially when it comes to the Highland Scotties series or any future series involving you guys. And the highest tier I think is like $5, and you pretty much can name your player, jersey number, and if he does what's really, really well, and no higher than 85, I'm kind of capping it there. At some point here, he can be in a future series in whatever sport he's in. So if he's here in this series, eventually we'll move him over to Madden. He can be a kind of a little bit of a focal point of a character, for a future series or something like that. So that's just one of the benefits of joining Patreon. If you guys want to do it, and I know a lot of people can't really do it because they're not financially strapped or whatever, but there are other tiers. There's $1 if you support the channel, $1 a month. There's certain things in there, and then same thing for the second tier, which is like $3 or so a month. But they have different perks in it, and plus too, you get stuff with those. There's giveaways and all that kind of stuff in there. So it's really cool, a way to to help out the channel, and then at the same time we we give you guys something nice and special for as a thank you to be a part of helping out with the channel. So but there you see we're moving some of these players around here, kind of looking around, seeing what their overalls are here, and basically this was players out of need, what we needed. As this coming season, we got some issues. We got some offensive line issues that we got to work on as I was going through the roster here. As we don't have a, it's gonna be a tough season here. Jasper Reed, of course, will be our quarterback this year. We'll learn more about Jasper Reed. I don't know if you guys remember him. We recruited him back in season 2, if I'm not mistaken, and then he was on our team on season 3. Didn't get to start, but he finally gets a start this year, and there's a little bit of a backstory with him, and we'll explain more of that coming up here in a future episode. But just take a look here at the training. We've got some guys training there, helping us out, and a lot of these guys, of course, are upperclassmen, are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then, of course, Godfrey there. I mean, I think he's going to be one of those dark horse candidates that could really do something. Him and Little are going to be so great there as a 1-2 punch in the wide receiver core. And, of course, Stone, a red shirt senior, I think, this year. He's definitely going to be one of those guys that nobody's has. Oh, no, he's a senior, actually. There's not much tape on him, but he is ready to go out there and play some ball. Ramirez, of course, now will take over as your tight end. He's our starting tight end there, and he is really excited. Cannot wait to see how he does here coming up, as he took over the tight end position last year. We may end up eventually maybe moving Rocco Bennett over to that position as a backup, because he can play fullback. He does have some, he's a receiving kind of a fullback, so he can help out in that situation there for us in the tight end area. But yeah, offensive line, defensive line, or I should say offensive line, it's going to be really tough because we don't have too many. Our depth wise is not good, so that's something that we're definitely going to be looking at going into season, going into this season and get ready for season 5. Trying to set or season 6 there, I should say, trying to get some offensive line depth. Because a lot of our guys were seniors and they took off and left. They either went pro or went or graduated. So, which is, we have a high graduation rate, which is nice for Coach Teddy Bonds, because he always explains to his guys that if you don't make it to the league, at least leave here with a diploma, so you can get out and get a good job. But yeah, for the most part here, it's been that's one thing we're gonna have to worry about next season. And that's something I'm going to be focusing on during the season, is try to get some good offensive players to help us out. Now, if you guys, that's one way. If we need some help in certain areas, that's another great way for you guys to help us out by submitting us. Now, submissions will start for players all throughout the season. Now, to find out how to do that, well, just check out our Discord page. There's a link down below. Go to our Discord, join the Discord there. I try to go on there at least a couple times a week, especially mainly on the weekends. I get a chance to go on there and go see. But there's a page on there on our Discord where you guys can check that out, and there's a link or a thread there where you guys can check out and see how to create our player. Create a player, submit it. All you have to do is copy paste the document or the text on there, and then just fill in the name, age, or name, where they're from, height and weight, and then what position you want to be a part of, or what position you want to play, and then what is his focus. So if he's a quarterback, is he a pocket quarterback? Is he a balanced quarterback, or is he a scrambler? If he's a defensive lineman, is he a pass rusher, balanced player, or if he's more of a coverage kind of player? So, or I should say run stopper. So, there's just, if you guys pay attention, if you guys have been playing this game, you guys know there's at least 3 different types of players in each position that you can choose from. And from there, I will plug in what your overalls are, which will be 75 overall. And there's different variations I have set up for those 3 different things. So we have a different variety of players for each. Now, so you guys can check that on Discord. There's a link down below, and you guys can check that out. And it explains a lot more better detail there on there if you guys want to join our team. Now, as for our conference here, the Big 12, there you see BYU, Highland going to be in the north, along with Kansas, Iowa, Kansas State, and Virginia. In the south, it's going to be Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M or Texas Tech, TCU and Texas. The regular, just the traditional Big 12. As for the relegation, as you see there's some prizes there. As you take a look, Bowling Green's in there in the East, in the Big 12, in the Big 10 East. Ball State, of course, those 2 teams were in the MAC last year. One of them was the champion, one was the runner-up, so they got invited into the Pac or the Big 10. Of course, you see Conference USA. There's theirs, and there's some changes there too. So each conference, with the exception of the Big 12 made a change. Of course, us and BYU now part of that. But Conference USA did not make a change because we're their sister conference, and so no changes there this season. But that'll change next year. Actually, we'll bring in probably 2 teams from each. Yeah, 2 teams for Conference USA in both divisions brought up, and then 2 teams from the North, or for the Big 12 from the North and the South, and those two divisions will also then be relegated, since we didn't do a relegation this year. But there you see, of course, Purdue now out of the Big Ten, now in the MAC West, and any of those teams like that come in, like Indiana there too in the MAC East, they're going to have to either win the conference championship or be in the conference championship game itself. So that's the only way you can get back to your original conference, like those two teams. Just like here, as you take a look in the Mountain West, looks like what is it? It's Utah and Washington State. So those two teams, if they want to get back to the Pac-12, they have to get to the they both have to get to the Mountain West Championship, and then of course if they make it there, then they automatically will get a bid to come back to the Pac-12. Now we'll try this out for 5 seasons, and then once we get to season 11, we may just change it where who are the winner of that championship, then they get to make a return back to the thing. So it just depends on just shaking things up and trying to make things a little interesting when it comes to our conference championship games, and of course the conferences themselves. Well, I kind of want to see, I'm hoping to see some of these mid conference teams be successful in the Power 5 conferences. So something a little different, kind of just change up the series, because at some point here, the series will get kind of bland and kind of just repetitive and boring. And and the same thing can happen to us. If we do not do so well, we can be relegated out. So it's one of those things that I'm hoping that we'll do better. Of course, I am going to be changing the difficulty this year. I'm using, I think, the black sliders on Operation Sports. If you guys are familiar with those, I'm using those, black or blue or whatever they're called. Heisman-like level, which we've been playing on Heisman for a while now, but we are going to be changing things up. I am also looking at changing up the playbook even a lot more to make things different. So I don't know the different format. I'm changing some of the formations and some of the different types of game or offensive playbook and defensive playbook for our squad. So there will be some changes here, and of course those changes are also reflected to the type of players that we have right now. So there's been some changes here earlier in the off season, but we're hoping they're good changes to help us out. Now, as we take a look here, as we wrap up this episode and see the schedule, we're taking on Iowa in the first game of the season. Week 2, taking on, of course, Calvin McGee's Hawaii Warriors. And then in week 3, it is Virginia Tech. They're number 13 in the nation. And then we are going back to LSU to face the LSU Tigers, as we were unsuccessful, I think it was season 2, against them. We beat them, I think, in season 3 in a neutral site game there at Cowboy Stadium, and now we're going to go back to LSU to see if we can beat them there. Of course, Alan Lawrence, the former offensive coordinator for us, is now the head coach for LSU, and we're going to try to see what we can do against them. Then, of course, Big 12 play starts in week 6 as we take on Baylor. We got West Virginia on the road. Kansas is going to coming to Highland for the first time ever. Then we go back to Aggieville, take on K-State. We host Iowa State. Head on down to Fort Worth to take on the Horned Frogs there of TCU. And then look at that, week 13. I'm sure they got this one marked just like we do. A rematch of last year's national championship game between us and number 11. Hopefully they're still ranked. Number 11 right now, Texas Longhorns. And of course, the classic rivalry between BYU and Highland. Gonna go at it here this year again. And of course, both teams have entered to the Big 12 for the first time in their school's history. So it's gonna be a fun year here. I cannot wait. Honestly, what are you guys' predictions of this season? How do you think the season is going to go? Will we be Big 12 champions, or will we have a restart? We've been successful so far these first 4 years. I mean, really I didn't think we was going to be in national championships the first 4 years. I thought maybe somewhere around year 3 or year 4 we'd be starting to be in a national championship picture. But this year, I mean, this is different. A lot of the guys that started this series are pretty much gone now. So we're starting really from scratch here, and this is going to be really interesting to see how things go. And I'm hoping things will go on the right direction here for us. Hopefully we can have a Heisman Trophy winner like Godfrey, and hopefully we'll have some good defensive play. I really want to have, Big 12 is not really known for their defense, but I want us to force the rest of the league to play some defense. So hopefully our defense will most of our defense players are still intact, but I'm hoping that we can force and show the other teams that, hey, we can be a conference that plays solid defense here, not some crazy, high scoring games here. Big 12 does have some good offensive players, whatnot, but we're just not known for our defense, and I kind of want to change that. So we'll see how things come up here for the season. Stay tuned for the next video here on the channel for the Highland Scotties, which will be an inside look at some of the players that are being prospects that you guys created, and some of the prospects that not just you guys, but also myself, Steve, and my good buddy Taylor have also created here. You guys get to learn who the players are, where they're from, what their background is, how they grew up, and all that kind of stuff. Coming up in a very special recruiting special coming up, and that should be up here within the next day or two. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, if you guys want to make your recruits for next season, you guys, like I said, there's a link down there for the Patreon, or for not pay. Well, yeah, it's for our Patreon page if you want to go that route. If you really, that's the way. If you really want to get your guy on the team, that's the best way to do it. You're guaranteed to get a spot. But if you want to, try to see if you can get recruited by me, or just be in a series with another team. Definitely check us out there on Discord. Check us out there. There's a link. There's a section in there on our Discord where you guys can submit a player, and they're on there that explains how you guys can do it. But I'll explain more about that and get in more detail with that coming up here in that recruiting special. So that should be coming up, like I said, in a couple of days here from now. And then, of course, we'll start the season, and we'll start with week 1 going against I forgot who it was now. But yeah, we'll start the season and see how things go, and get this 5th season of the Highland Scotties going. See if we can go for another national championship and bring home another title to our little small town of Highland, Kansas. But that's it for this episode, and hopefully you guys, like I said, I'm glad I apologize for being so late and so behind for this series, but we're going to pick it up and get it moving and going again here very, very soon. But as always, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you guys be notified of this series or any other series on the channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord for latest news and events on this channel and the series for this channel and everything about what's going on in sports and in sports gaming in general. Follow us on Patreon, as we do have a Patreon page like I've been mentioning already. And that is it for me. And keep yourselves each other healthy, wear a mask, stay safe, and I will see you guys next time.